Hello, welcome to 12-Minute Review. I'm Skippy, and as usual, I'm going to be doing a review within 12 minutes. And right now, I'm going to review Tom and Jerry, the movie that came out in 2021. Okay, this isn't the first Tom and Jerry movie. Technically, this is the second Tom and Jerry movie, but the first one was fully animated, but this is the live action movie. So, same property, but different versions. But let me give you the plot synopsis. Basically, Tom and Jerry, the movie, is about, well, Tom and Jerry and this new character called Kayla, played by Chloe Grace Moretz, and she's a down on her luck girl who's trying to find a new job after she accidentally loses her first job thanks to Tom, and she basically lies to a manager of a hotel, saying that she's somebody else, and so she gets the job, and Jerry moves into the hotel. People see Jerry in the hotel, and they have a singular mouse problem. Now you would think like, oh, let's just get a exterminator, but like they make reasonings to where like, oh, if we have a bunch of exterminators coming around, people might think our hotel's infested and might give out. So I'll give them that as a pass, because like, if you were to see a bunch of exterminators in a hotel, you wouldn't want to stay there and you wouldn't want to leave or get a refund. But she goes in and like she tries to take care of the mouse problem, that being Jerry, and so she hires on Tom to take care of Jerry. But as usual, hijinks and slapstick ensues. And Michael Piana's character, Terrence, he's like second in command of the hotel, and he's sort of upset that the new girl's that's slowly trying to take his place. So he tries to find ways to like mess her up, or like tries to call her out, being like, "Wait a second, you didn't do that at your old hotel," because Chloe Grace's character, she took somebody else's resume, changed the name, and then like, said that, "Oh yeah, that's me. I did all this at the old hotel," and you would like, that's a scummy thing to do, and like you wouldn't want to be on board with that, but I don't know. Anyway, at the hotel, they're hosting a wedding of like a famous billionaire playboy and a important Indian personality, and so they're having like marriage trouble and going through their own thing. And like that seemed a little bit more interesting than the other characters, like Chloe Grace's character or Michael Piana's character. But like the couple had like their marriage troubles. They're trying to get the wedding off the ground and like trying to make it work, because the billionaire playboy is trying to impress his fiance's father, while the fiance is trying to be like, "You don't have to impress anybody. I love you. As long as I love you, you don't need anybody else." He's like, "Yeah, but that's not good enough," and like he's trying to overdo. And I do like the small parts that include them. Other than that, Tom and Jerry reenact most of their famous bits from other shorts. And with Tom and Jerry, it's somewhat a clip show, with them repeating most of their gags from previous shorts and cartoons. I still enjoyed them. They're still great cartoon characters. And the animation, it was a nice, like most live action movies, like the Scooby-Doo movie or the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, they try to like make the characters look realistic while trying to fit in. But what I liked is that they try to go for, with this movie, they just said, you know what, we're just gonna make the characters CGI and make them look cartoony. We're not gonna try to make them look too realistic like Yogi Bear or Scooby Doo, or cartoony realistic like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. We're just gonna make them cartoony. We're just gonna make 3D models and just cell shade them. And like I like that, because in the Tom and Jerry cartoons, because like almost every animal, no, not almost every animal in this movie are all CGI characters, but they look like their cartoon counterparts, and I love that, because like there's no real pigeons, cartoon pigeons. There's no real cats, only cartoon cats. There's no real ducks. Everything's a cartoon, and I love that. I really do, because it reminded me of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And other than that, other than that, like the story falls. The story is not that interesting. I will say that, and I've seen a lot of people online be like, "Oh, who would want to see a movie like this? God, this movie's terrible," or "Oh, the movie's boring." And I will admit, yes, there are points where the movie drags on, or when it's boring, or when Chloe Grace or Michael Pena or some other characters try to tell jokes, but it falls flat, and all you want to do is just see Tom and Jerry, do their thing, slapstick each other, and have a simple but understandable plot. Other than that, the movie's basic at best, like 3 stars basic. But like, then I realized that, like, because a lot of people online start to say, like, God, who was this movie made for? And that brings up a good point, because it turns out, like, certain characters who are made in certain places are more popular in other places than what they were made in. Like, for example, Woody Woodpecker is more popular in Spain than he is in America. And I did a little bit of research, and it turns out Tom and Jerry are more popular in India and Dubai than they are in America. That's why this movie most likely has an Indian theme, about an Indian movie, like not an Indian movie, but an Indian wedding with these characters involved in it. And I said, I did a little bit of research. Tom and Jerry are more popular in India and Dubai than in America, because like there's not spin-offs, but there's adaptations or inspirations from Tom and Jerry, like cartoons called Rat-a-Tat or Cat and Keat. And that's understandable. That's understandable. You can understand why Warner Brothers made this movie, because they're like, yo, we can cash in on the Tom and Jerry craze because of India, and that does make sense. So I'm not harsh on this movie. Like, I love the animation. I love how they still maintain that stringiness and like the slapstick and the rubber hose of the cartoon without making it too realistic. Basically, all the animals in this world, live off the cartoon logic, while the humans don't as much. Like, there's one scene where they do the typical fight dust cloud scene, and like you really get to see what's inside of the dust cloud, because Michael Pena's character gets pulled in, and I mean, like, it works, but the thing is like, it's sort of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Humans don't mix with cartoons unless it's done actually well. But this is still a good, decent movie in my opinion. There's some scenes that drag on, that try to be funny, but they're not. But Tom and Jerry do their thing and make it well. And I do love the scenes where Tom and Jerry get along and they try to do the right thing. The ending part where like Tom and Jerry are trying to chase down the car because the bride of the billionaire playboy, he's like, maybe this wedding shouldn't work, and like she leaves to go on an airplane. Tom and Jerry have to race her down. That scene where like they're riding on a skateboard and stuff like that. I just wanted to rewatch that scene over and over again and just like look at it. I wish it was extended, but man, I love like chase down scenes or stuff like that. But the movie's not the best. To be honest, I do not see this like being in like I don't see this thing being in theaters. I know it's in theaters, but it feels like this movie was made for Warner Brothers streaming service, HBO Max, and it feels like that. It doesn't feel expensive, but it feels that it's like, good enough. There's definitely not a lot of scenes of like Tom and Jerry as you would want it, but out of the Tom and Jerry, the first Tom and Jerry movie, where like they actually had the characters talk, I mean, like, I'm okay with this movie. It's not the best. It's not the best, but it's decent. It's really, really, really decent. It could have been reworked a little bit better, because like the trailer sort of gave off the wrong type of impression, because like you would think that oh, Tom and Jerry, oh, they went their separate ways, but instead it's just Tom and Jerry are in New York right away, and they're just trying to make it at the same time trying to not die as regular people in New York would, survive. I don't know what to say much about this movie. This movie would have worked better as like a HBO short, because they do have Tom and Jerry shorts on HBO Max. They do have that, and like I would have been fine with this movie just being like a live action where Tom and Jerry are just in the city, and it's like a small, like, I don't know, 12-minute short where Tom and Jerry are just in the real world and they're just like doing slapstick in the real world and people are just reacting to this. But I like the movie. I want to give it 3 stars, but with the, you know what, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. 3 out of 5. It's not as bad as most people would make you think it is. Sure, some of the live action characters talk a little bit too much, and like the jokes aren't as funny as you would think they are. But the movie somewhat actually works. The movie actually works. There, like, the thing is, like, if there's an audience for something, people are going to make it. There's an audience for Tom and Jerry. There's an audience for other cartoons that haven't been resurrected, or other countries or places. Like don't criticize a franchise if you don't know the history, or if you don't know if there's other people out there who actually like Tom and Jerry. Because little do people know that there's actually a theme park called Warner Brothers Movie World in India, or Dubai. I believe it's in Dubai, but I know there's a theme park, and like there's love for these characters in other places of the world, and I can appreciate it, and they can appreciate it too. But that's my 12-minute review, and thank you for listening, and hope to see you soon.